9 p.m. in Djibouti. It's time to English New Edition. For tonight headlines, we have on the prematures energy meetings on the advancement of the energy project. Concerning international scene, the caravan of migrants on the road for the USA has arrived in Mexico. Welcome to our newsroom, Mr. Prime Minister. His Excellency Abdul Qadir Kamil Mohammed held meetings of consultations and follow-up of advanced energy project with the energy department of the country. The meeting is organized in the meeting rooms of the Prime Minister, and the objective is to develop a statement of the general progress of a major energy project undertaken by the energy department. The meeting was attended by the Energy Ministers Yunus Ali Gedi, Agriculture Ministers Mohammed Ahmed Awale, State Secretary of Housing Mr. Amina Abdi, General Directors of EDD, and several other departmental officials of energy. Prime Minister Abdul Qadir Kamil Mohammed encouraged project technicians and engineers to do their best to complete the major project developed by the President of the Republic in a timely manner. He invited them to do their best to properly serve the project populations in terms of renewable energy with the establishment of the geothermal energy. The meeting was fruitful, and many of the leaders mentioned the different problems encountered during the realizations of this geothermal project in the various sites, including Galale Koma, Fiale, and Asal Lake. For his part, the Prime Minister Abdul Qadir Kamil Mohammed has enlightened for the ministers and the managers of the energy department energetic project like geothermal or solars. All of these projects will be in the real time. We include also to connect the Tajara and Obok regions to the electrical network. All this is to help our people for the expensive prices of the EDD. For his part, the Minister of Energy, Yunus Ali Gedi, has indicated that all these projects will be empowered our people's conditions of life. The Minister of Agriculture, Water, Fishery and Livestock, in close collaboration with the World Bank, organized a workshop on improvement the availability and access to household food in Djibouti. The main objective of this study was to contribute to the improvement of livelihood in Djibouti through potential sectors, an adaptation strategy that will mitigate the risks associated with the food security issue. Development of these studies will allow us to turn to alternative technology that would contribute to the establishment of sectors in phases with the latest innovations in the field of agriculture, including hydroponics. These studies evaluate the availability of saving technology, appropriate waters that can both produce nutritious food and create employment in the rural community. In particular, women, and integrates the visions of Djibouti 2030 of the President of the Republic, His Excellency Ismail Magele, who tends to make agriculture added values in rural areas. This workshop was attended by the General Secretary of the Ministry of Agriculture, Mr. Ibrahim Elmi, the Cordials Waters Reactors, Mr. Paragoita Said, the Directors of Trade, Mr. Muhammad Fouad, and the General Secretaries of the Housing Habitat Department, Dini Abdallah, and other representatives of the ministries concerned from near and far. Colonel Zakaria Hassan Adan, the Chief of Staff of the National Gendarmerie, welcomed in the mornings of Thursday, November 8, 2018, at the Sheikh Musa Training Center, located at PCAT 23. His Excellency the Ambassador of Japan and the Chief Missioners of Statement on the occasions of this event. The Japanese Ambassador formally handed over 50.05 tenths and 13 pence to the National Gendarmerie. These donations of in materials received by the Colonel Hassan Aden, Chief of Staff of the National Gendarmerie, will support the daily actions of the unit of the Gendarmerie who fight against illegal immigration. Indeed, the National Gendarmerie intervenes relentlessly with the aims of providing humanitarian assistance to take these migrants back to the borders and protect them against the danger that threatening them during their journey. The Dora Women's Association is funded by the Ministries of Families, Promotions, Organized Health of Genital Mitigation and Early Marriage Sufferings to Life. No marriage forces main localities in the sub-prefectures of Dora and sub-localities of Dora, Balhubuya and Dabba Munkur, whose mission is to work for defend and protect Dora's women's rights, fight against all forms of violence and discrimination against women in the area of the sub-prefectures of Dora, promote activities and projects related to the empowerment and the social, economic and cultural welfare of rural women in the sub-prefectures of Dora. In this context, AFD has undertaken with its own means social actions in favor of women. The first steps concerned the organizations of women and the awareness of Dora's women to work for their rights. Under the leadership of the Ministers of National Education and Vocational Training, Mustafa Muhammad Mahmoud, the school sports competition started this morning on the lawns of the big football field at the municipal stadium. This new sporting season concerns for the moment the students of the basic education of the classes of 4th, 5th years of the district of Djibouti 1. Remember that these sports activities that are part of the revitalization of sports in the school environment will allow the 8 schools of Djibouti 1 to compete in tournament in fair play, sprite, worthy or great sports. After this launch of the inter-school sports season, it will be the turn of high school students to compete in tournament generally aimed to at team sports such as football, handball, volleyball and basketball through the territory. Concerning for the international scenes, Central African Republic can urge the food need nearly 2 million people out of the 4.5 million inhabitants of the Central African Republic requires urgent food action. The UN warned in a statement stressing that is to the worst situation since 2014. A studies on food security in the Central African Republic in September delivered the worst results since 2014 with 1.9 million people in need of urgent food action, is warned the spokesman of the World Food Programme. Attention and actions are necessary to prevent human tragedy, he said. Nutrition conditions in Central African Republic continue to deteriorate due to persistent insecurity, said Hervé Van Hossel. In early November, a new wave of violence took place in the Betangafo, Bankuzi centers and Zemilio souths, forcing thousands of civilians to flee of the 600,000 persons lives with the host's family, World Food Program said pointed out that the continued deterioration of an already extremely serious situation is on the grounds a direct involvement in food security. The caravans of migrants en route to the U.S. arrived in Mexico City. About 5,500 migrants who left on October 13 from Honduras to visit the United States arrived in Mexico City on Wednesday. About 5,000 migrants who left on October 14th, 19th from Honduras to go to the United States arrived in Mexico City. The Mexican Human Rights Commission announced it. The chair of the commission's National Ramirez reported these new figures at a press conference held in a shelter designed for these migrants in a situation in the capital. According to Mr. Ramirez, 86% of these migrants are Hondurans, and the rest come from Guatemala, Nicaragua, and El Salvador, and Panama, and Costa Rica. The commissioners and the city councils of Mexico are coordinating aid to migrants in the shelter, which is now filled to capacity. According to the authorities, most of the caravan from Honduras has now arrived in Mexico, and backloaded groups are expected later this week. Two others caravans, each with some 2,000 migrants, are en route to southern Mexico. The first migrants of the second caravans could reach Mexico next Saturday, according to Mr. Ramirez. And this is it for tonight news. Thanks for watching us. Have a good evening.